Imagine you're standing at the edge of a cliff, not a dangerous one, but one that overlooks an endless valley covered in morning fog. You can't see what's below, you can't see what's ahead, and somewhere deep inside you there's a whisper, faint but persistent, telling you that something is about to shift. You don't know what it is, you can't name it, but you feel it the way animals feel a storm coming long before the first drop of rain touches the earth. That feeling, that strange electricity humming beneath your ordinary days, is not random. It's not your imagination playing tricks. It is perhaps the most honest signal you will ever receive. This video is inspired by the profound wisdom of Alan Watts, a man who spent his life pointing at the moon while most of us kept staring at his finger. And today we're going to explore 5 signs that your life is standing at the threshold of transformation. Not change in the superficial sense, not a new job or a new relationship, but the kind of change that rewrites the very code of how you experience being alive. And I want to make you a promise right now. If you stay until the end, I'm going to share with you a single insight, one that Watts circled around for decades, that has the power to dissolve the invisible wall between the life you're living and the life that's waiting for you. There's also a simple practice, something you can do today, tonight, in the next hour, that will begin to anchor this shift in your body, not just your mind. So let's begin. And let's begin with the strangest sign of all. The first sign that your life is about to change is that nothing seems to work anymore. I don't mean external failure, though that might be part of it. I mean that the strategies you've used your entire life to feel okay, to feel safe, to feel like yourself, suddenly feel hollow. The things that used to excite you leave you empty. The goals that used to pull you forward now feel like they belong to someone else, someone you used to be but no longer recognize. You wake up and go through the motions, but there's a flatness to everything, as if someone turned down the color saturation on your world. Most people, when they hit this place, think something is wrong with them. They think they're depressed, burned out, broken. And maybe those words apply on one level. But on another level, something far more interesting is happening. Alan Watts would often speak about how we live our lives inside a kind of game, a game with rules we absorbed before we were old enough to question them. Get good grades, get a good job, find the right partner, accumulate the right experiences, build the right identity. And this game works for a while. It works because we believe in it. It works because everyone around us is playing the same game, so it never occurs to us to ask whether the game itself makes sense. But here's what happens. At some point, for some people, the game stops being convincing. Not because you've failed at it, but often because you've succeeded. You followed the rules, you did what you were supposed to do, and now you're standing in the middle of your carefully constructed life, and you're asking a question that has no comfortable answer. Is this it? This feeling of things not working, of the old magic losing its power, is not a sign that you're falling apart. It's a sign that you're outgrowing a container that was never meant to hold who you're becoming. A caterpillar doesn't experience its cocoon as a spa retreat. It experiences the dissolution of everything it knew itself to be. And that dissolution feels like dying, because in a very real sense something is dying. But here's what Watts understood so deeply. That death is not the enemy of life. It's the secret doorway. The structures have to crumble. The old answers have to fail. Because only when you stop being satisfied with the old game can you become curious about what lies beyond it. So if nothing seems to work anymore, if you feel like you're going through the motions in a play you no longer believe in, pay attention. This is not breakdown. This is breakthrough wearing a disguise. The second sign is more subtle, and it often goes unnoticed because we don't have good language for it. The second sign is that you've started to notice the one who notices. Let me explain what I mean. Most of us, most of the time, are completely absorbed in the content of our experience. We're absorbed in our thoughts, in our emotions, in our reactions to what happens around us. We're so busy being angry or excited or worried or hopeful that we never pause to notice something extraordinary. There's an awareness underneath all of it that never changes. Your thoughts change constantly. Your emotions rise and fall like waves. Your circumstances shift, sometimes dramatically. But there's something in you that has been present through all of it. Something that was there when you were 5 years old and is still here now, watching, experiencing, being. This awareness is what Alan Watts pointed to again and again. He called it by different names. The real self, the eternal witness, the clear light of the void. But the name doesn't matter. What matters is the experience of suddenly becoming aware that you are not identical to your thoughts and feelings. You are that which experiences them. And when this recognition starts to dawn, even faintly, even just as a passing intuition, It marks the beginning of a fundamental shift in your relationship to life. Here's why this matters. As long as you believe you are your thoughts, you are at their mercy. When the thoughts are pleasant, you feel good. When the thoughts are painful, you suffer. You're like a leaf blown around by every gust of mental wind. But when you begin to notice that there's a space in which thoughts appear and disappear, a space that is not itself a thought, something remarkable happens. You discover that you have a place to stand that is not dependent on circumstances. You discover an inner refuge that no external situation can touch. Now, this noticing usually doesn't arrive as a dramatic revelation. It comes as a quiet shift, a moment here and there when you catch yourself watching your own mind. You might be in the middle of worrying about something and suddenly there's a part of you that observes, worrying is happening. You might be feeling anxious and somewhere in the background a silent witness notes the anxiety without being consumed by it. These moments are easy to dismiss, they're easy to overlook because they're not loud, but they are in their own way more significant than any external achievement you will ever accomplish, because they are the first glimpses of who you actually are beneath the costume of personality. So if you've started to have these moments, these little gaps where you notice yourself noticing, don't brush them aside. Don't wait for something more dramatic. This quiet recognition is the crack in the door, and what waits on the other side is nothing less than freedom. The third sign is one that often gets misunderstood, and it can be quite uncomfortable. The third sign is that you feel increasingly out of sync with the world around you. Conversations that used to interest you now feel shallow. Activities that everyone seems to enjoy leave you cold. You look at the things people chase, the status, the validation, the endless accumulation, and you feel like an alien observing a strange species. There's a loneliness in this, a sense of not belonging, of being somehow different in a way you can't fully articulate. Alan Watts spoke often about how society is a kind of conspiracy, not a malicious one, but a collective agreement to pretend that certain things are real and important when they're actually just conventions. We agree that money is valuable, though it's just paper and numbers. We agree that status matters, though it's just a story in other people's heads. We agree that success means certain things, though those definitions vary wildly across cultures and centuries, and as long as you're fully embedded in this collective dream, you don't notice its dreamlike quality. It seems like just the way things are. But when you begin to wake up, even a little, the dream becomes visible as a dream. And this is disorienting. It's like being the only person in a movie theater who notices that everyone is reacting to colored lights on a screen. You don't want to be superior about it. You don't want to judge the others, but you can't unsee what you've seen. And this creates a strange kind of isolation. Here's the thing, though. This isolation is not a punishment. It's a necessary passage. It's the universe's way of separating you from the herd mind, so that you can discover your own direct relationship with reality. As long as you're getting all your cues from the people around you, as long as your sense of what's real and important is borrowed from the collective, you can't wake up to your own authentic vision. You have to be willing to stand alone, at least for a while, at least until you've established your own ground. And Watts would remind us that this aloneness is not ultimately lonely. Because as you go deeper into your own being, you discover something surprising. You discover that at the very core of your individual self there is something that is not individual at all. There is a depth in you that connects to the same depth in everyone and everything. So the isolation is temporary. It's the tunnel you pass through on your way to a much more profound connection, a connection that doesn't depend on agreeing with others or fitting in, but arises from recognizing the shared being that lives in all of us. So if you feel like you don't belong, if the world seems increasingly strange and dreamlike, if you can't make yourself care about the things you're supposed to care about, take heart. You're not broken. You're not deficient. You're in the chrysalis, and it's dark and cramped and confusing in here. But something is being born that will have wings. The fourth sign is perhaps the most paradoxical, and it's the one that most clearly signals that a profound shift is imminent. The fourth sign is that you've stopped running from yourself. For most of our lives, we're engaged in a subtle but constant escape. We escape into entertainment, into busyness, into relationships, into ambitions, into anything that will distract us from the raw experience of being here now, with ourselves. We're like someone who is afraid of what they might find if they stop moving, so they never stop moving. But at a certain point, for some people, the running loses its appeal. The distractions stop working. The noise that used to drown out the silence no longer seems loud enough. And you find yourself, almost against your will, face to face with the present moment, and whatever arises in it. This can be terrifying, because what arises isn't always pleasant. There's pain in there that you've been avoiding. There's grief, there's fear, there's a deep uncertainty about who you are and what any of this means, and as long as you were running, you didn't have to feel any of it. But here's what Alan Watts understood so clearly. The running is the problem, not the solution. The running is what creates the suffering, not what saves you from it. Because whatever you run from, you carry with you. Wherever you go, there you are, with all your unprocessed baggage strapped to your back. The only way out is through, and through means turning around, means stopping the escape, means finally sitting down in the middle of your own experience and letting it be what it is. This is what meditation is really about. Not some exotic state of bliss, but the simple willingness to be present with whatever shows up. And when you develop this willingness, something magical happens. The things you were running from, the things you thought would destroy you if you ever faced them directly, begin to lose their power, not because they disappear, but because you discover that you can survive them. You discover that you are bigger than any experience that moves through you. The pain is real, but it passes. The fear is intense, but it dissolves. The uncertainty remains, but it's no longer terrifying because you've stopped demanding certainty. So if you've noticed that your appetite for distraction has faded, if you find yourself sitting in silence more often, if you're strangely willing to feel things you used to avoid, this is not depression or apathy. This is courage. This is maturity. This is the beginning of a new relationship with yourself, where nothing is off limits, where all of you is welcome, where you no longer need to divide your experience into acceptable and unacceptable parts. The fifth sign is the most beautiful, and it's also the most difficult to describe. The fifth sign is that moments of ordinary life have started to feel extraordinary. You're washing dishes, and suddenly you're struck by the miracle of water. You're walking down a street you've walked 1,000 times, and suddenly you see it as if for the first time, the play of light on buildings, the faces of strangers, the sheer improbability of all of it existing at all. You're breathing, and you feel the breath as a gift, an unearned grace that keeps arriving moment after moment without any effort on your part. These moments of wonder, of presence, of what can only be called intimacy with existence, they come and go. You can't force them, you can't hold on to them, but they're coming more frequently, aren't they? They're lasting a little longer, and even when they fade, they leave behind a subtle fragrance, a quiet knowledge that the ordinary world is anything but ordinary, if you have eyes to see it. Alan Watts spent his life trying to articulate what these moments reveal. He talked about how we normally experience life through a thick filter of concepts and labels. We don't see a tree, we see the word tree and move on. We don't experience a person, we categorize them and file them away. We live in a world of abstractions, missing the raw, throbbing, astonishing actuality that is right here, right now, always. But when that filter thins, even temporarily, reality floods in, and it's overwhelming. It's too much. It's unbearably beautiful. It's ordinary life, but seen truly. And once you've had even a taste of this, you can never go back to the old flat world of concepts. You know now that there's more. You know that the doors of perception can swing wide open. And this knowledge changes everything, even when you're back to washing dishes and walking familiar streets. So if you've been having these moments, these little glimpses of paradise hidden in plain sight, know that they are not random. They are not meaningless. They are invitations. They are the universe whispering, come closer, come closer. There's so much more here than you know. Now, here we are. We've walked through these 5 signs together. The feeling that nothing works anymore. The noticing of the one who notices. The strange isolation from the consensus dream. The courage to stop running. The glimpses of the extraordinary and the ordinary. And perhaps you've recognized yourself in some of these. Perhaps you're nodding along, thinking, yes, this is happening to me, this is what I've been experiencing, but couldn't name. So let me share with you now the insight I promised, the one that ties all of this together, the one that Alan Watts spent decades pointing toward from every possible angle. Here it is, and it's so simple it might disappoint you at first. You are not separate from life. You are life. You are not a small, isolated fragment trying to figure out your place in a vast, indifferent universe. You are the vast universe looking at itself through the particular window of your experience. You are not a wave trying to return to the ocean. You are the ocean waving. I know these sound like words, and words can't capture it, but stay with me for a moment. Consider the implications. If you are not separate from life, then there is nothing to achieve. There is no distant goal called enlightenment that you need to struggle toward. There is only the recognition of what is already the case. It's like a man who searches frantically for his glasses, not realizing they're on his face. The search itself is the only thing preventing him from seeing that he's already found what he's looking for. All those signs we talked about, they're not problems to be solved, they're symptoms of waking up. The old game stops working because you're outgrowing the illusion that you're a separate self who needs to win. You notice the awareness beneath thoughts because that awareness is what you truly are. You feel isolated because you're disconnecting from a shared dream so you can wake up to a shared reality. You stop running because there's nowhere to escape to when you realize you are wherever you go. You glimpse the extraordinary because without the filter of separateness, everything shines with its own light. And here's the practice I promised. It's absurdly simple, and that's the point. Because this isn't about adding more complexity to your life. It's about subtracting the one thing that creates all the trouble, the sense of being separate from what is happening. Tonight, or right now if you can, find a quiet place, sit comfortably, close your eyes, and for just 5 minutes, stop trying to do anything at all. Don't try to meditate, don't try to relax, don't try to have a special experience, just let everything be exactly as it is. If thoughts come, let them come. If sounds arise, let them arise. If your body is restless, let it be restless. Your only job is to notice that there is an awareness here that is already allowing everything. You don't have to create that awareness. It's already here, already doing its job. You just have to notice it, rest in it, be it. Do this for 5 minutes every day, not to achieve anything, not to become something, just to remember what you already are, and watch what happens. Now, if this video has stirred something in you, if these words have pointed at something you've been feeling but couldn't articulate, I want to hear about it. Leave a comment below and tell me what shifted in you while you were listening. What are you seeing differently right now? Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read, and if you know someone who's been going through their own mysterious transformation, someone who's feeling lost and found at the same time, send them this video. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give is the recognition that someone else understands. Subscribe if you haven't already, because this is just the beginning. In future videos, we're going to go deeper into the wisdom that Alan Watts spent his life sharing. We'll explore the strange dance of control and surrender. How the more you try to control life, the more it slips through your fingers, and how letting go is actually the doorway to everything you want. We'll investigate the mask you wear, the personality you've constructed, and what it means to live authentically beneath all the roles you play. And we'll keep uncovering these hidden truths that are simultaneously ancient and urgently relevant to our modern confusion. Until then, remember that the signs we talked about today are not obstacles on your path. They are the path itself. The discomfort you feel is not a mistake, it's the shell cracking. And what's trying to emerge has been waiting for this moment for a very, very long time. I'll leave you with one last thought. Somewhere inside you, beneath all the noise and worry and striving, there is a place of profound stillness. You don't have to create it. You don't have to travel to it. It's been here the whole time, patiently waiting for you to stop searching long enough to notice it. This stillness is your original face. It's who you were before you were told who you should be. And it's still here now. It's always been here. It will always be here. All that's required is to stop, even for a moment, and let yourself come home to it. Thank you for walking this path with me today. Something is changing, whether you can feel it yet or not. And it's changing in you, and it's changing in all of us, and it's changing in the very fabric of what we call reality. Welcome to the transformation. It has been waiting for you.